Can a child have ADHD only at home? What do you think? I know sometimes it seems like that they are having more symptoms some places than others. So let's talk about that. I'm Nicholeen Peck. I teach parenting all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government, and I have a lot of experience with people with ADHD, and that's what we're talking about today. In this video, we're going to be talking about how ADHD applies to the different environments that we might find ourselves in, as well as how a person can learn to control their ADHD. So the quick answer to the question, can a person have ADHD only at home, is no. If a person has ADHD, they have ADHD. It's a way of processing all of the time. It's not a way that they process just at home. However, they can develop habits in certain relationships. Now, one thing that you need to recognize about ADHD is this. ADHD can be genetic, but it also can be environmental. So if something is going on at home that exacerbates the ADHD or makes it worse somehow, it could be that the reason the child has ADHD is because of something environmental at home. If a parent is power struggling with their child all the time at home, that could create an environment where a child starts to develop ADHD tendencies. If a parent is actually too lenient or coddles a child too much, this could also create an environment where a child develops ADHD tendencies. So what are those ADHD tendencies? Let's really quickly go over those so that we make sure that we're on the same page. When a person has ADHD, they have an atypical way of processing, and so oftentimes the reward center in their brain is a little bit off, so they start feeling rewarded for doing things that they shouldn't be doing because they feel powerful. They also have a hard time staying focused, so they can seem distracted, impatient. They get bored very easily because they don't focus in on something. They also can be very hyper-focused on one thing to the point that they cannot leave it. In fact, they could feel very anxious if they have to be pulled away from, say, their music practice or their computer game or something like that, because they can hyper-focus into that, but they don't want to focus on anything else. In fact, oftentimes when an ADHD person is in a state of hyper-focus, it's this state of bliss. They feel so happy because they don't have to deal with the getting distracted and making themselves focus. They finally found something that is easy to focus on. They don't have to think about focusing. That feels so nice to a person with ADHD. So also people with ADHD can experience depression, moodiness, disconnection in relationships. Oftentimes power struggling can happen. They interrupt people, blurt things out, try to be controlling, and they seek attention oftentimes not just in positive ways, but very often in negative ways. That's just a few things that a person can experience if they have ADHD. We're going to talk about how ADHD can differ based upon environment and what you can do to help the person in your life that you love with ADHD learn how to control some of that ADHD and find more peace in their lives. But before we do you see that little subscribe button? Click that button now so that you can see more videos related not only to ADHD, but to self-government, good communication, and good family relationships, because that's what this channel is all about. So click subscribe now, and don't forget that notification bell so that you'll be notified when new videos come out. So let's talk about these different environments. If you're watching this video, you likely thought, well, my child seems to be displaying worse tendencies at home than he does at school, or he doesn't seem to focus at home on his chores or his homework homework, but the teacher does say that he's focusing on classwork most of the time at school. So why is it worse at home than at school? Okay, or how come my spouse can focus at the office, but they can't focus at home? Well, there could be different reasons for that. So maybe the thing that's at the office, biology or computer programming or whatever it is the one thing that your spouse can hyper focus on. But when your spouse gets home, it's like everything's all over the place. The children, he has to adapt to everything, and it's hard to stay focused, so he just kind of shuts down. All right? But it could be that if he learned what was going on inside of himself, he might be able to make some improvements. Sure, it's going to take time because we all wear these nice pathways in our brains that we use for convenience. So we have to make other pathways that can seem just as convenient in order to make a shift. So your child, if they are at school and they seem to have an easier time focusing, it could be because the environment lends itself to focusing better. Maybe it's quieter at home. Maybe it's quieter at school than it is at home. Or maybe the topic that they're working on at school, like math, is something they really like getting into, but reading, they really don't. And at home, when you're trying to get them to read, they have a problem staying focused and they get bored with it easy because they aren't focusing. Okay, that could be a thing. It also could be that the child is very motivated when it comes to school or dance or sports or whatever it happens to be. And because they're motivated, they make themselves focus. They put all of their mental effort into it. But when they get home, they don't want to make themselves do anything anymore. They just want a break. They want all the hard stuff to stop. Think about that letdown time that most people want. They come home from the office or at the end of a long day, and they just don't want to do any more brain work anymore. And it could be that that's what's happening with your child. One of the best ways to know if your child is just worn out at the end of the day is to really observe what happens on a Saturday or a Sunday. Are you just playing on Saturday? Because you don't have to use that much focus when you just play. Okay? Or do you actually work and learn and do things together as a family earlier on in the day and then kind of play later in the day? See if your child can focus in on that learning earlier on in the day or that work time earlier on in the day, and then later they get the reward of playing. If they can do that, then you know what's happening is they're probably just getting worn out at school. But if your child has a hard time focusing even on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, when you're doing learning time, reading time, working time together, even when there's some sort of a reward that's going to come after, then chances are that they are just wanting to be defiant just to you. And they want to control the home environment. So then you have to look at your parenting and you have to say, am I consistent? Am I maintaining parental authority? What am I doing that is making this child think they can walk all over me emotionally? Am I too permissive or modern progressive in my parenting? Because if so, my child could learn to take control of me. And that is not an ADHD thing at all. That is an environmental thing and maybe a personality thing from a strong-willed child. This book here, Popular Parenting Methods, which is one that I wrote, actually talks about different types of parenting and can help you identify if you are doing modern progressive parenting, bully fear-based parenting, or good historical traditional strict parenting, which is not angry, by the way, very calm type positive parenting. It will help you understand if you have crossed over a line that maybe you didn't want to, and give you some tips for what you can do to start fixing the problem. You can find this book on my website, which is teachingselfgovernment.com. So in the Teaching Self-Government Parenting course, I teach 4 basic skills that parents can teach their children. The 4 basic skills actually take care of 99% of behavioral problems. I also, by the way, teach parents how to calmly correct their children when their children are going completely out of control. So make sure to check out the TSG parenting course on my website. Let's just talk about 2 skills today. These 2 skills are skills that you could start with that would really help your child learn what what they need to start developing some control. They want to be in control of themselves. They want to focus. They get so frustrated and down when they recognize that they have lost focus again. And when they see everybody else around them able to focus and they can't do it too. It's incredibly frustrating. So what we need to do is we need to give them skills that they can use for success. I actually have 2 children's books that teach the 2 skills that we're going to be working on today. In fact, I have 4 children's books that teach all of the 4 basic skills, but we're just going to be focusing on these 2. This book here, London LaRae Says Okay, teaches following instructions. And then this book here, Porter Earns a Quarter, teaches accepting no answers and criticism. Now you might think to yourself, how do these 2 skills help a person feel in control of themselves? When a person learns self-government, they give themselves instructions and themselves no answers on a regular basis. So that's the sign of an adult or fully mature person that is a self-governing person. So when your child is not fully mature and they're learning how to become that adult, then they are practicing following instructions from you and accepting no answers and criticism from you, and then bit by bit applying those same skills to them instructing themselves and giving no answers to themselves as well. So let's talk about the steps of following instructions. When a person follows instructions, they can look at the person, keep a calm face, voice, and body, say okay or ask to disagree appropriately, do the task immediately, and then check back. So why look at the person? Because this one's actually really important. Your eyes are the windows to your soul. And when you look at another person in the eyes, you can see the goodness in there, the potential in there. You can feel how much they love you. So as a parent, if you teach them to always look in your eyes, then guess what? You have to always look in their eyes, which means you have to love them and show that love to them as you're instructing them. So they look at the person or the situation if they are giving themselves an instruction. Then they keep a calm face, voice, and body. And then they say, okay, or they ask to disagree appropriately. And yes, you can disagree appropriately with yourself. It's a reasoning exercise that you would go through. And we use a problem-solving skill called SOTAs to teach a person how to disagree appropriately with themselves. So anyway, what a person does is after they either say okay or disagree appropriately, they go and do whatever task it is that they've told themselves to do. They do it immediately. And then they check back, which means that there's this moment of returning and reporting where they follow up on what they did. And a mature person returns and reports to themselves. They check it off their list, or they write down in their journal, I did it. Or they tell their friend, I did it. Or they just say to themselves, yay me, I did it, right? But when a child is learning to return and report, who are they going to report to? You. So that's following instructions in a nutshell, and it actually is a game changer in most families. What's another game changer? Accepting no answers and criticism. Accepting no answers and criticism has 4 steps. It's the simplest skill, but it's also the one that your person with ADHD does not like. They just hate having to accept a no. They want to do whatever they want to do. And they don't love boundaries. Accepting a no answer is the skill that helps a person learn how to observe proper boundaries. Because a boundary line is like a no. It's something you don't cross over. So interrupting, for instance, which is super common for an ADHD person, is a boundary line not to be crossed over, right? So they have to give themselves a no answer. No, don't say it. Don't say it. Now, what are they going to do? There's 4 steps. They look at the person or the situation. They keep a calm face, voice, and body, and you really have to teach them deliberately what that feels like and looks like. Then they say okay or disagree appropriately, and then they drop the subject. So if I feel like I want to interrupt, I want to interrupt, but I look at the situation, somebody else is talking, I keep calm about it. I tell myself, no, stay calm. Say, okay, that I'm not going to interrupt, right? Or reason to myself why now is not a good time to say something because somebody else is talking and that will bother everybody else. And then I drop the subject and say, it's okay if I don't even say whatever that is. I am not going to cross over that line. This could go for any craving or addiction. Now you see how those 2 skills, there are many adults who can't even do those skills. They are just adult skills. even though they're taught in those children's books. In my course, my TSG parenting course, which I highly recommend if you're working with someone who has ADHD, then I teach all 4 of those 4 basic skills, as well as the skills that you will need for correcting the problems when they go wrong and when they go completely out of control, start power struggling, some of those typical things that can happen in a household where there is a person who's non-neurotypical struggling with ADHD processing. And this is something I know a lot about, so I'm hoping you will check out that TSG parenting course today. To find the TSG parenting course, go to teachingselfgovernment.com/TSG-parenting-course. And right now, for a very limited time, probably just when this thing first comes out, there is a coupon code that you can use for some money off that TSG parenting course. Right now, use the coupon code CALMNESS. If you type in CALMNESS at checkout, that will give you a discount on your TSG parenting course today, but I promise you, it's going to change things for you. I've had a lot of great success with it, as so have thousands and thousands all over the world.